Okay, we're back. So today is the 5th of April 2015, and this video is about the 6th card in the Celtic Cross. So I'd like to start with a bit of a recap so that if you're just joining the series, it's going to bring you up to date with what we've covered so far. And if you've been watching, it will, I think, give you new insight into the cards in the earlier positions. So card 1, I'm saying, is, I think it's best understood as the atmosphere surrounding the question. So let's say somebody asks about what's going to happen at work. Okay, the question might want a change, and that's possible, but they might want to know if they can stay in the current job, even though it's not that interesting for them. Or maybe the sales department in the company where they work, maybe the sales department failed to get a big new order, right? So some people are wondering if there are going to be layoffs. Or maybe the questioner heard a rumor and is taking the rumor about something to do with the company and is taking the rumor seriously. But when they ask you about what's going to happen in the job, they really want to know, should they take the rumor seriously? Or is it just general fear mongering and the rumor isn't to be taken seriously? And this, I think, is why we need to know the atmosphere surrounding the question, so that we have some way of knowing what's going on with the question, or knowing something important about what's going on, and we'll get that from the card. It can give us an idea of what sort of time the questioner is in, right? Because sometimes in life it's time to regroup, right? Or it's time to get organized, or it's harvest time, right? And we should take advantage of lots of possibilities and make hay while the sun shines, right? So at other times, we should be getting organized or getting prepared for winter, let's say. There's a period coming up when there's not much going to be happening. And instead of doing nothing, we get set up so that when there isn't much going on, we're still in good shape. Because when you know what time the questioner is in, I think we have a better chance of making correct sense of the cards that come up. You know the context for the card, so you can figure out the meaning. And I think that's how it begins. You know the context, then you know the meaning, rather than there's a particular meaning and you try and choose the right one. So that's what I'm saying, I think, for the first card, that it shows the atmosphere surrounding the question. And the reader may not always be able to explain or describe all this in detail to the questioner, but that's okay because it's only the first card. And I think if the reader knows or has some impression based on the first card, then we have an idea of what's going on. I mean, we know the context, so we can judge the rest of the spread because of the atmosphere. Because it could be an atmosphere of fear or unjustified fear, or it could be an atmosphere of justified confidence. And that makes all the difference to the background. So we can understand what sense to make of the cards. And it means too that the second card is the opposing force. And it means that when we consider the opposing force, we can know if there's anything to worry about. Or is there something that can get in the way based on the atmosphere? Or something that can cause an upset or cause a change of direction for the questioner? Because the questioner maybe wants something, but some stronger force is going to make them realize it's not possible. So they have to do something else. But at other times, they've got an idea of what they want and they're going to be able to get it because nothing much is going to stop it happening. Excuse me. So the third card goes down below and it shows the foundation. So it's what you can build on as well as showing something about the past. And so with a question about a job, there are different reasons or different kinds of jobs, and people have different reasons for taking a job. Maybe it's just for the money, or maybe it's a career move because they want to go places, they want to develop their career. So the foundation card can show the past, as well as maybe the reasons why the person chose that particular job or went in that direction. Or maybe it shows their expectations about the job. It's as a foundation. So I might want to be a photographer, so I take a job in a gallery, thinking that I'm going to make contacts with people who can employ me, but I end up doing administrative work, and I never get taken seriously by these contacts that I'm making with people that I wanted to hire me as a photographer. And that's like the foundation. That could be important information about the foundation of the question about the job. Or maybe I'm working in a casual job just to have some spending money. So with some questions, I think the third card is going to talk about the past, and that's what's important. Whereas with other jobs or other questions about a job, for instance, we're looking at that third card to give us an idea about the foundation, what you can build on, what works, what doesn't work, the strengths and weaknesses of our plan for developing a career, let's say. Then the fourth card shows what's passing away. So we can see what the foundation or the early steps developed into. So did things pan out the way you thought or the way you wanted? And was the foundation a good step in the right direction? Right. So for example, if you've got the three of coins in the foundation, the card of the craftsman, and it's followed by the sun, then it was a good job, a good foundation, and it's developing into something. Or maybe you've got the magician below, followed by the eight of batons, right? The arrows reaching their goal. So that's another nice combination showing a strong foundation and good developments out of it. Or maybe your plan backfired or maybe it went nowhere, right? So you're not, with the influence that's passing away, you're not any better off than you were, or you're no closer to reaching your goal. So maybe we've got the sun below, followed by the three of swords. Okay, plans and confidence below, but it turned into sadness or sorrow. Or maybe you've got the six of swords below, showing movement towards a better situation or a new situation, but it's followed by a reverse court card, so that the kinds of people that you're coming into contact with, or the kind of person you developed into, really is lacking. So if you find an awkward or difficult sequence here between the third and the fourth card, I think it's important to remember that it doesn't have to be a bad thing. Because somebody once pointed out to me that you can learn as much from a bad book as you can from a good one. It's really up to us what we get out of the situation that we're in. So things going wrong can make your plan clearer, right? Or discovering what you don't want can mean that you're one step closer to knowing what you do want. So if you get an awkward combination of third and fourth cards, don't assume that this is a bad thing. So it's a good idea for the reader to read what's there and not be overtaken by their own emotions. So that was the fourth. The fifth card, we have what may come. And it can be a new direction, or it can be something to avoid. And we have a choice about what it shows, whether we want to accept it or we can reject it. Because what may come could happen, but it doesn't have to. So after all that, we get to the sixth card that shows what will come, right? It's the future, or it's the next step. And it's going to come about, and you have to go through it, whether you like it or not. You don't have a choice with this particular card. It's the future. It can happen tomorrow or next week or next month. When? Sometimes you can tell from the card. So maybe if the reading is being done in the middle of March, and the card for the future is the Ace of Batons, which represents the beginning of spring. We know that spring in the Northern Hemisphere anyway begins about the 20th of March. And if the reading's in the middle of March, you know that the Ace of Batons represents something that's happening very soon, within the next week, 10 days. And maybe it's covering the period up to the end of the month. Or let's say you've got two cup cup cards in the first 5 positions, and the 6th card for what will come is also cups. It's a bit like there's a continuation of the suit. So what's going to come up next is something that relates to or is part of something that's already going on. So we're looking at the near future. And maybe it's like the next, what will come is a development of what is currently going on. But let's say you've got a new suit that hasn't shown up yet in the 6th position. It's different of what you've already seen. So there's a change coming up, right? Because a different suit. And you say something that makes sense. So let's say there have been swords in the first couple of sword cards in the first 5, showing conflict. And the next card, the card in the 6th position, shows what's coming up. And maybe it's cups, showing cooperation. So with that in mind, you have to think about how strong or how embedded the conflict is from the sword cards to get an idea of the chance for a change of heart taking over. Because there's a change from swords to cups. So if it's a relationship and the two people hate each other, and they're firmly grounded in their hate, and they're not that interested in making an improvement, then if we've got cups as what will come, maybe quite a bit of time has to pass before love can take over. So all you can say is that the relationship is going to get better, and there'll be friendship and love again in the future, so you can relax, but because things are going to be better between you, but you're not sure about when. And sometimes all you can say is what's going to come is you're going to get along better with each other, and leave it at that. You can't really expand on the time frame. Or maybe you say it's going to happen within a couple of months, but I'm guessing, right? I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing. But once you've seen all 10 cards, maybe you can come back to the card for the future, and there can be indications from the other cards, the later cards, that's going to show how quickly the future condition is going to happen. So this 6th card is what will come, and you have to go through it even if you don't want to. And so how does the reader handle the 6th card? And I think it can be useful for the questioner if the reader talks about the card and explains if they like it or not, and if they like it, why, and if they don't like it, why don't they like it? So in this way, if it's a problem card, the questioner can get an idea of how to handle it. So you say, I don't like this card because blah, 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 but at the same time, it means I'm going to have to do this and this, right? So it can help the questioner understand how best to handle an awkward situation that's coming up. Or at the same time, if it's something good, then the questioner can make the most out of it and not just let it slip by. So let's say it's the 3 of Swords coming up. You can say that the reader can say maybe it's not that pleasant for a while, but it's not all bad because the rain, again, depending on the earlier cards, but the rain can be tears, right? And this can show release of tension. And we all know how much better people are after a good cry, right? So the 3 of Swords is there. 3 of Swords reverse, let's say, is coming up. So be unhappy for a while and you'll get over it and you'll be free of it. But with that 3 of Swords or a card like that, you can also talk about the importance of being in the moment, and that right now, this moment is all there ever is. So use the experience of the 3 of Swords and learn something. Or if it's a sun coming up, it's going to be good, okay? And you can just sit back if you want and enjoy it. But you can make hay while the sun shines, as they say. So even though you might choose to do nothing with the sun as a 6th card, if you keep at it, it's like riding the crest of the wave, right? So you end up an awful lot further ahead by continuing to make an effort. There's a line in Shakespeare, in Julius Caesar, where somebody says, there is a tide in the affairs of men, which, taken at the flood, leads on to fortune. Right? So sometimes in our life there's deep-seated, powerful movements, and if we harmonize with the underlying movement, we end up moving ahead easily and quickly and far. But we need to take advantage of them, of those times, because the next couple of bits are omitted. That means if you don't take advantage of the tide, then all the voyage of their life is bound in shallows and in miseries, right? So if you miss the time, you're not going to get it back. So this idea of a tide in human affairs, that's kind of like telling us that sometimes the time has greater power than one single person. And it makes me think of if you find the Wheel of Fortune, right, in the same spread, it can indicate that it's very important to keep going and take advantage of the times and not let it all slip away. Okay, so that was something about the sixth card in the Celtic Cross. If you have comments or questions, leave a comment down below or email me directly. And all going well, I'll upload the video about the seventh card in the Celtic Cross on the 12th of March, which is next Sunday. So until then, have a good week. Thanks very much for watching. Okay, bye-bye.